Welcome to JMeter Academy Lesson 5, Recording to Speed Scripting. In this lesson, you'll see how recorders can speed the work of building a test plan by capturing browser or app requests for you. JMeter is a powerful tool for load testing. It has a rich set of components that can be used to create complex load testing scripts for many types of web services. Usually, a performance engineer who writes a JMeter test plan for performance tests of some web service will launch the web application in a browser, open a browser developers tool to capture the network outbound network traffic, and then open JMeter and executing step by step through the use case, write a JMeter test plan. It's diligent work, and this way of scripting takes a lot of time. But there are other ways to do it, which leads us to the agenda for today's lesson. We'll look at how you can create test plans using the JMeter test script recorder, using the BlazeMeter online recorder, also known as the BlazeMeter proxy, and the BlazeMeter Chrome extension. All of these approaches allow you to create your test plans much quicker by starting with browser recordings. Let's get started, in fact, with the JMeter test script recorder, the built-in JMeter component that helps simplify the script creation process. To demonstrate this method, we'll need JMeter and a browser. I'll be using Mozilla Firefox here. We'll be writing a JMeter script for a use case of blazedemo.com, the test application for flight booking. First, I'll start JMeter. Then I'll right-click on the test plan and add the HTTP Cookie Manager config element. We'll talk about why you'd want the Cookie Manager in a later video. Let's move on. So now we right-click on the test plan and add a thread group. Under the thread group, we're going to add a recording controller. We'll right-click on the thread group, logic controller, recording controller, right? Now the recording controller is the element of JMeter under which all captured HTTP samplers over the recording session will appear. That's where they'll be stored. Then I add the JMeter test script recorder. It's added under the workbench. I right-click on workbench and add non-test elements, HTTPS test script recorder. Now the HTTPS test script recorder is simply an HTTP proxy server that records the HTTP requests that are coming from your browser. In order for that to happen, you need to configure both this component here and your browser to point to the same port. Let's handle this setting on the JMeter side first. Let's go up here in the global settings area to the port field and change that to port 8080. Then let's start our browser and make the same configuration there. So we'll go to the options and we'll choose Advanced and then select Network and Settings. Here's where we'll put in the details, right? So in this field we'll put localhost and set the port to the 8080 that we used on the JMeter side. This way the browser is going to actually go to port 8080 to try to get to the outside world. It'll hit JMeter and JMeter will be able to record. Now let's click this checkbox here to propagate to the other protocols and hit the OK button. Now the browser's been configured and we can start recording. Before we do though, let's launch a new window in private mode. It's recommended to use a browser in a private mode during the recording session to ensure that it doesn't use stored cookies and also that it doesn't save changes. Let's handle that now. Launch a new private window. Okay, so there's our browser. Now before we get started, let's hop back to JMeter really quick and we're going to need to start the recording session. But before we do that, let's go over to the HTTP sampler settings field here and set it to HTTP client 4. That value will appear in all the captured HTTP samplers that are captured throughout the recording session. After that, we click on the Start button here and a confirmation dialog appears letting us know that a root certificate has been created, which we could use if we're doing secure sites. Let's click OK and get started with our recording. Now the recording is actually running and we switch back to our browser and we enter the starting URL we want up in the address bar in the browser. this case it's blazedemo.com. Okay, so here we are. This is BlazeMeter's demo application for booking simple travel on the web, right? I'm going to book a flight in this web app, and JMeter's proxy will capture the script for this particular use case. So on this screen, we'll select a departure city. Let's make it Sao Paulo. And then we'll choose the destination city. Let's make that London. Click Find Flights. And then on this screen, let's choose Lufthansa for the airline. And then we've got this screen to fill out. So this is a form we need to fill out with all of our details. Let's go ahead and fill it out. So put in name, address, city, state, zip code, credit card number, name on the card. All the fields are filled out, and so now we can just submit it by hitting Purchase Flight. So that completes the flow that we wanted to record and create a test plan from. Let's go back to JMeter and have a look at what was recorded. First, let's stop the recording by clicking the Stop button here. And then let's go up to the recording controller and expand it. Under the recording controller, there are these HTTP samplers. These were captured over the recording session. And they're given, incremented numbers. You can see each as they were captured, right? For example, this one. Here you can see the confirmation step with all the fields from the form filled in. And if I look up here at the implementation field, I can see that it's filled in with the HTTP client 4 that I set when we set up the recording down here in the test script recorder. In order to be sure that the script works, let's add a listener. The view results tree listener is what we need. We'll save the test plan. And then launch the script. We can see that all the samples have been successfully executed. Now let's go back to the HTTP test script recorder and have a look at all the options we have there. HTTPS domains field contains domain names for which JMeter will generate certificates. That's in case you're using HTTPS connections, right? The domain names would be separated by a comma if you had multiple. The target controller contains a controller name under which JMeter proxy will store the captured samples. In our case, we use the recorded controller, but there are other options. Let's talk about grouping. Sometimes in some use cases, one click in a browser can result in a lot of different requests that are sent back and forth. And JMeter will attempt to cluster these together or to put dividers between them if you want. And that's what these options here will let you choose. Next up is HTTP sampler settings. This determines the parameters that will be set for every one of the samplers that's created for you. And we set this earlier to be HTTP client 4, right? So that all the samplers would come back that way. There's other options here too as well. Now the content type filter has an include field and exclude field. And here you can put in regular expressions or regex to control what content types are allowed through the proxy using the content type header that's in the requests. We can also control filtering by URL patterns, which would also use regex, right? So include and exclude. And you can see the add and delete buttons down there below. So as we have seen, the advantage of this method of script creation is that the script can be created very quickly and it implements a real user interaction because it's driven by you using the browser itself. So it's accurate to what the web application does. But scripts that are created this way should be optimized further. Only simple scenarios can be implemented by this way with no further editing. But anyway, this method does deliver a quick result and get you started on building your test plan. The next way of JMeter script creation is to use the BlazeMeter online recorder, which is also known as the BlazeMeter proxy. This way is similar to the one we have just discussed, but the proxy is located in the BlazeMeter cloud, and the resulting script can be saved in different formats. Let's record that last use case again, only using the BlazeMeter proxy recorder, and compare resulting script with the one that was recorded in the JMeter script recorder. But first, we need to configure the BlazeMeter proxy recorder. In order to use it, it is necessary to have a BlazeMeter account, either free or paid. If you don't already have one, sign up for BlazeMeter in order to proceed further. Just go to blazemeter.com and click Get Started Now. Now, I'll log into BlazeMeter. Oh, actually, I'm already logged in. So I'll click Back to Your Tests here. Great. So here we're loading into the BlazeMeter interface. I click on Create Test. Under Create Test, I see the recorder. We'll click that. And then here I just click on Create Proxy. And you'll see it's created a proxy for us, and the address of the proxy is over here. You notice there's a port number in, that's pretty important. That could change from time to time. So let's do this the way we did before in Firefox. Remember, I open the Options screen, choose Advanced. In the Network tab, click Settings, and here's where we'll put in the proxy URL and port. Just grab it from here. Paste it in there, and then let's get that port number. And then click the OK button. So the browser's been configured, and now we'll launch the recorder by clicking this button at the bottom here. Now it's running. We'll go back to our browser and launch a private window. Now we have one more very important step, which is that we're going to install the certificate so that secure sessions can be done between the proxy and the browser. It's really easy to do though. We just go back to the proxy page and grab this URL here and paste that into our browser, and you'll see this page appear. So in this case we're using a Windows browser, so we'll click on Windows and follow through here, install the certificate, click Next, just kind of confirm these screens, right? And we're done. And the certificate's been installed. Now, if you're on a Mac, you actually have a similar steps. It's just fewer steps. You click Apple and then just trust this CA to identify websites and click OK, and you're done. All right, let's execute that same use case that we did in the last session. So, and then we'll take a look at the resulting script. So we go to blazedemo.com. And we'll select our destinations like we did before. Departure city, destination city, find the flights. And we'll choose Lufthansa. Fill in the fields here. And click Purchase Flight button. So our flight has been purchased. All right, so we've been through the steps. Now let's go back to the BlazeMeter proxy recorder, and let's stop it by clicking here. And now we can see all the HTTP requests that were captured. And the script is ready for downloading. In a few different formats, actually. So we could download it as a JMX file, just a JMeter file, by clicking on the JMX button. Or we could download it as a JMX file processed by the Smart JMX converter, and by clicking on that Smart JMX button. Or we can just save it, for example, in JSON format or the Torus format. Both of those are useful. We'll learn about that later. First, let's click on the JMX button here. Download that script. Then let's click on the Smart JMX button and download that one too. Now let's go back to JMeter and let's check the format of each of these downloaded JMXs we got there. So let's do File Open, grab the simple JMX, and we can see this script has a very plain structure. It's just a thread group with each of the requests in there. Includes the embedded resources, the JSS and the CSS. At the bottom we can see that there's a constant timer, which has been deactivated, disabled. But if we activate it, then it'll apply a delay to each of the samplers in the script. You also notice that the script already has config elements for us: the cache manager, cookie manager, heading manager, and request defaults. We didn't have to remember to put any of those in by ourselves, right? So we put those in there for us. We can see that request defaults is not configured and all the fields are empty, so it's up to us if we want to use that or not. The header manager does contain the headers that were found in all the HTTP requests. Let's expand the samplers. You can see it's just the requests and some additional header manager information, but there's no extractors, right? Just the header managers here. This is the script in the simple JMX format, just sort of a plain vanilla JMX. Let's look at the script in the Smart JMX format and see what's different. We can see here the script is structured actually. So there's more structure going on here. The config elements at the top of the script, the cookie manager, header manager, HTTP request defaults, user variables, all up there for us. We can see that the HTTP request default is configured for us, the blazdemo.com. We can see a user-defined variables config element with some variables set for us. And this is because if the Smart JMX converter finds repeated data in the script, it converts them to variables and puts them into the user-defined variables config element. Here we see the HTTP header manager. And this one contains headers found in all the HTTP requests. And as I've said, the script is well structured. You know, it's been nested here under two separate controllers. These are simple controllers, they've just been given names. This one here and this one here. And there are no HTTP samplers that belong to the embedded resources. Let's expand one of the HTTP samplers. We see that the Smart JMX converter added an extractor, a CSS jQuery extractor, to extract data from one response and place it into a variable for us. And then we use the variable in the following HTTP request. There it is, credit card year. This happens because the Smart JMX converter analyzes all the HTTP requests and responses and finds dependencies between them. If it does find a dependency, it adds an extractor. Sometimes the Smart JMX converter will add a list of alternative extractors as well, and they'll be disabled, but makes it easier for you to choose which one makes the most sense for you. Each of the groups of HTTP samplers under each of these simple controllers has HTTP header managers. And these are the headers that the HTTP samplers of each simple controller will use. So that's it. That's the script in the Smart JMX format. We've now seen scripts produced by the JMeter test script recorder and the BlazeMeter proxy recorder, including the different types of files that the BlazeMeter proxy can produce. All of these scripts require some additional effort to clean up and group requests, add parameterization, add or improve extractors, add extra required config elements, and timers. But we saw that less effort is required to tune the script that the smart JMX converter produces. Let's stop the JMeter proxy recorder and investigate the BlazeMeter Chrome extension plugin. Here we click terminate and click yes. Cool. All right. So on to the BlazeMeter Chrome extension. In order to use the BlazeMeter Chrome extension, you need to sign up to BlazeMeter. Go ahead and do that if you haven't done it yet. Now we need to make sure we install the plugin to Google Chrome. Here I've opened Google Chrome. Then I open the settings page. Go to extensions. Click on Get More Extensions. And type BlazeMeter in this field here. Now we add to Chrome. Click Add Extension. And we can see it appear here on the bar. So let's just go ahead and dismiss that little message. And click on the icon to have a look at the plugin. So here's the BlazeMeter Chrome extension plugin. The plugin works in two modes, record mode and follow me mode. I'm going to demonstrate both modes and you'll see the difference between them. But first, I need to log into my account. I'll click on login here. And sign in. Now let's go ahead and click on the icon again. Actually, I'm going to open a fresh tab here, and then let's start with the record mode. The selection between the record mode and the follow me mode is made by the slider up here. Now we're in record mode. In this mode, the extension records all of the HTTP and HTTPS requests that your browser makes. It then creates a JMeter script and either automatically uploads it to BlazeMeter to run right away, or lets you download the script to use with JMeter. Let's explore the fields here. First, here's the name. This will be used to name the test in BlazeMeter and also to name a file name if you download a JMX. These buttons down here control recording, record, stop, and pause. This button will let you edit the recording after it's been recorded, before it's uploaded or downloaded. This button lets you export to a JMX. The concurrency slider would control how much load would be generated if you were to use the feature of launching the test right after the recording. It also would set the number of threads in a thread group. The distance you can slide this is based on the count plan you have with BlazeMeter. Load origin, again, would be used if you were to launch the test right after recording. It would just immediately launch a test from that geographic location. User agent can be any mobile device or web browser. It's basically going to affect what the user agent string is that's sent when the requests are sent. And at the bottom, the include filter pattern. This lets you choose which requests you're going to capture, and it would let you filter just to a particular domain or particular URLs within a domain. Leaving it wide open like this is fine because you're always able to edit after you've done the recording. And in today's example, we'll actually filter this down a bit. Let's have a look at the advanced options. Notice that record only top level requests is checked by default. This sets the treatment of embedded objects on the page such as images, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's go up here and enter the script name. For example, test blaze demo 11. Let's set the concurrency number. We can either use the slider or we can go down here and we can actually type the number. So I'll go ahead and down here and type 20 and start the recording. Actually, before I start the recording, let's show how we could use the include filter pattern to make sure we get just what we're looking for. So let's make this include requests only from blazedemo.com. And then let's start recording. Now we'll just repeat the use case we did before. Enter blazedemo.com. Let's do our origin and destination cities. Choose Lufthansa. Fill out the form. Hit purchase flight. And yes, we're done. Now we proceed back to the Chrome plugin and we stop the recording. Now if we click the edit button, we can see what requests have been captured. We can expand these as well and see things like headers and such, set the labels, etc. Then you could launch this script just by clicking here, which would actually immediately run it on BlazeMeter using your account. After the script is launched, you get navigated to your BlazeMeter account. And then you could either click on the name of the test run where it says recent reports, or you could drop this down here and you're into the live report for the test that's underway. Switch gears and go back and look at the Follow Me mode. You go into the Follow Me mode by sliding this slider here over to Follow Me. Follow Me mode simplifies load testing as much as possible. All you need is to just browse to your site, and while you do, a number of individual users will follow your exact actions. The number that is set in the concurrency setting field is the number of individual users that will follow you. The configuration settings are nearly the same as they were before when we were looking at recording. First, let's enter the name of the test. Test Blaze Demo 12. I'll leave the concurrency the same as it was before at 20. The time distribution is how far behind you in seconds you want the crowd to join you. Now down here with domains to follow, I'll make this blazedemo.com. This field is designed to prevent sending traffic to other sites by accident. I'll leave these advanced options here as they are, and we're ready to go. So now all I need to do is press the play button. And we'll see that we need to wait a minute while the cloud servers are being launched. I'll fast forward here a little bit. Okay, so now we can see that it says you can start testing. So we're now ready to go back to the browser and start navigating. So go to blazedemo.com like we did before. And let's execute the same use case we were doing. So we'll go from Sao Paulo to London, find our flights, choose our flight, fill in the form, purchase our flight, and we're done. Now after we've finished, we may want to wait a few seconds to let the users finish their journeys, and then we hit stop. And that'll stop the test. So now we can click to view the report. And here's the report for our tests. That's it. Now you can see the key difference between the two modes of the BlazeMeter Chrome extension plugin. I'd like to stress it once again. The key differences between the two modes is that in the record mode, the plugin captures the traffic, builds the script, downloads the script as a JMX or uploads it to the BlazeMeter cloud and launches it. In the Follow Me mode, the test in BlazeMeter is being executed at the same time as you're browsing your web application, executing exactly the same steps that you do in the browser. Before we go, I think I'll go a little further into some of the power that's in this Chrome extension by doing another recording and showing you a workflow that doesn't include going directly up to BlazeMeter. So I'll put here Blaze Demo, test 99. And I'll go ahead and hit start recording. In this case, by the way, I'm going to leave this wide open filter pattern here, right? And I'm doing that for reasons so I can show you what's going to happen here. All right, so I'll go ahead and start recording, and I'll go to Blaze Demo. And I'll choose, let's say, Portland to Dublin, find flights, choose this flight. Fill it in here. Purchase the flight. So we're done with that flow, right? Now, if I come back to the plugin and I stop it, let's go into this editing mode. And we'll see here that we have 4 objects we captured. And if I expand on these, you can see that by default the label is going to be this, but I can actually edit this to change it. And we can see what the headers are, right? So if I look here, I can see there's these various headers. Now, let's do another example really quick and actually see the power of this editor when we've gotten something we didn't actually want to capture, right? So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to reset this guy, and I'm going to say Place Demo 101. I'm going to start the recording, and I'm going to say I accidentally went to here. Go to Google. If I type Blaze Demo, it takes me there. And then I go ahead and I'll choose my cities, my flight, fill the stuff in. Purchase. Okay, I'm done. Now let's go look at what we captured that time, okay? So I'll hit stop, and I'll go to the edit mode. And looky here, right? So what we actually got was a whole bunch of Google content, of course, which we didn't mean to get, right? Now I could manually go in here and click these and say I want to remove them, right? I could do that one at a time. But actually, when you go to save this as a JMX or upload it to BlazeMeter, we're going to ask you, hey, what's the deal with those domains? Let's check it. Let's click JMX. So please select which domain should be included in your script. And I just click here, and only Blaze Demo will be in there. And when I hit submit, this is something we didn't show you in the first video, which is it actually generates a JMX that you can bring right into JMeter, right? So I just wanted to add that to today's lesson to make sure that you saw some of the other things you can do. Many people use the Chrome extension here as their primary way to capture workflow when they're building their tests, even though they're going to use JMeter to add enhancements. So let's review what we covered today. First of all, we talked about how recording really helps to speed scripting. You know, recording is not a magic cure-all that creates tests you can always run right away, but it definitely speeds the process of building up a test plan, particularly when you've got a complex flow to work. Then we looked at 3 different ways to do recording. First, we looked at the JMeter test script recorder, which is the function built into JMeter. Then we looked at the BlazeMeter online recorder, sometimes also called the BlazeMeter proxy. And finally, we looked at the BlazeMeter Chrome extension, also known as the BlazeMeter plugin. Well, let's move on to homework. Okay, for the homework, pick 2 of the 3 recorders we used today and record the blazedemo.com use case. Basically, go to the home page, pick origin destination, go through the whole flow. When you're done, open up the resulting JMXs in JMeter and compare them and just get familiar with what you see. That should do it.